Hello guys, welcome back to another video here on the channel. I know this is pretty short after the last prediction, but there's been some serious changes in the polls, like absurdly different, especially in the Rust Belt where we thought it would be a very divided competition. We just need to check it out. Let's get right into it. So first of all, we're going to highlight all of these safe states. Now, it may be a little controversial on what you consider a safe state, but in my opinion, any state at this so far down the election trail, if you have over a 8 to 9 point advantage in a state, you most likely have a safe state. So I'm just going to quickly color in all of Trump's safe states. The map is looking pretty similar to what it did. No, do not color that in safe. Alright, it's looking pretty similar to what it did 2 days ago. But there are some key changes that I want to cover. First of all, Texas, we're going to officially call a safe state for the Republicans. No polls have yet been released directly pitting against them, but there has been growing sentiment towards Republicans in the state, so Texas will be considered a safe state for this election. Alrighty. So let's get started. I don't know what's wrong with me. I keep missing some of these states for some reason. I've looked at this map so many times. You'd expect me to be better at this. But first of all, we're going to start in Nevada with their polling. So if you guys aren't aware, the main reason why I'm making this video is because there's been, pollster called Morning Consult, and it was sponsored by Bloomberg, posted several polls in key battleground states that showed Harris up by several amount of points in several key states. So we're going to quickly look at those states just to kind of recap how Harris is doing against Trump. So as you can see right now, you are currently looking at Nevada's polling data. And as you can see, it's looked okay. Trump looks like he had a 3-point, 2-point, 10-point even at one point. But all of these polls here, these two right here, were polled before Biden dropped out of the race, as you can see. So we can't really include the ones where Harris is against Trump before Biden's dropping of his bid, mainly because a lot of Biden supporters don't want to go support Harris because they already know it's going to be a close election. So we can't really account to these votes. So we really got to look at the ones where it's Harris against Trump past July 21st. So as you can see, the first poll we had after Biden's dropout showed +2. Then we've seen even 1 by Bloomberg. And then the second Bloomberg-sponsored poll here shows Harris up by 2. Now, I'm not going to immediately say that Harris is instantly flipped state to a tilt Democrat. What I'm going to say for now is I'm going to say Nevada is going to be a tilt Republican state just because of the sheer amount of other data we have showing that Republicans were most likely going to win Nevada in the cycle. So if we continue to see these polls where Harris is above, Nevada may very well flip. But at this point, we are not going to flip a Democrat. I just forgot I missed Alaska. What a shame. All right. Arizona is going to be our next poll. Alright guys, so now we have our next polls here. And as you can see, Bloomberg and Morning Consult have literally gave Harris a +4 and a +2 in Arizona. Now looking more into this +4 Harris win, we do see Oliver taking 19% of the vote and Kennedy taking 5% of the vote. In my opinion, I think this 19% win for Oliver is probably the largest third-party candidate margin we've seen in any poll this cycle so far. And if it turns out to be true, that would be a huge hit for Trump, knowing that he literally just lost 19% of the voting population in Arizona. Now, without those candidates, we see Harris still winning by 2 points, but then another poll conducted by Public Policy Polling and sponsored by Progress Action Fund, which is a partisan donor for the Democratic Party, does show Trump up by 2. So it's kind of a weird situation where we see these polls constantly flipping, and there's not really a good explanation for it why. So what we're going to say is we're also going to say, similar to the Nevada situation, we're going to say Arizona's going to be a tilt state, just because of the data we have already in Arizona, where Harris was even down by even 8 points here, 5 points here. And once again, this is after July 21st. So all of this kind of overwrites this in a slight situation here where Arizona most likely is still tilting Republican. But if this trend keeps up, it will definitely most likely flip to be a Democratic state. New Mexico, once again, still don't have any new polls, but trends from the past cycles have shown Democrats holding the state by a pretty strong margin. So we're going to put New Mexico like the state. Now, Georgia. This is going to be a big shocker to a lot of people who have been watching this channel for last video. But we see the Bloomberg polls, or Morning Consult polls, show Harris and Trump tied. And then in this first one, we do see Kennedy taking 4% of the vote and 4% of the vote going to Oliver. And then with them excluded, keep in mind this is a Democrat partisan funded poll, but we do see Harris up by a point in Georgia. Once again, not enough, in my opinion, to completely change the state's position in this election, but I will say Georgia is, like Arizona, Nevada, going to turn into a tilt Republican state, as we just don't have the data yet to back up a complete transfer from the party. Alright, North Carolina is going to be our next state on the list. We do see Trump holding pretty strong there. The two Morning Consult Bloomberg polls do show Trump either up by 1 or up by 2. Now, note Kennedy actually has qualified recently for the ballot in North Carolina, meaning that this could actually be a more realistic poll with Trump up by 1 instead of Trump up by 2, now that we actually have multiple third-party candidates in the state of North Carolina. So I will say it's probably safer than the other states, because we still haven't seen a poll where Harris is up or even with Trump. But it's definitely still not a state that the Republicans want to lose. Virginia. Now, Virginia's kind of a weird state, and I would show you polling, but I simply just don't have it. The most recent poll was conducted on July 14th to the 15th with Harris, showing Trump up by 4 points. But then again, that was over a week before Biden would drop his bid to be the Democratic nominee for President of the United States. Unfortunately, we just don't have the data in order to show a more realistic model of where Harris is at against Trump. So right now, I'm going to have Virginia be a tilt Democrat state, just because of its performance over the past few cycles with the Democrats, and also the fact that Biden won it by over 10 points in the last cycle kind of backs up Virginia as being a tilt state currently. Now, Pennsylvania. As you know, last prediction, it was a tilt Democrat state. However, the polls have changed since that. So we're going to kind of go over the past few polls. We do see Harris up by 4, with Kennedy taking 3% of the vote. And then we have the two Morning Consult Bloomberg polls showing Trump up by 2 and 4. Now this is with the third-party candidates, which have qualified for the state. We do see Trump up by 4 by himself, without like any other third-party candidates, and then a 1 point and 1 point advantage for those two as well. So honestly, it's been flipping so much, I may have to put it as, just keep it as toss-up, because it's just flipping too far back and forth. And honestly, making videos over and over again covering the flip is just getting too excessive. So I'm just going to leave Pennsylvania as a toss-up state for now. So we're going to have to see, and we're honestly probably not going to know either till we get about 5 more polls, or until election night, who's going to win Pennsylvania. So New Hampshire, Harris currently leading by 7 points in the most recent poll. So it's pretty fair to say that New Hampshire will likely be a Democratic state, and I don't think we need to worry about it being flipped. Now, Maine's 2nd congressional district, we will likely see a Trump victory here, as it's more rural, unlike the Maine's 1st urban district. And for Maine's statewide competition, we will most likely see, with a lean margin, we will see Maine statewide competition going with its 2 electoral votes towards the Democrats. Now, once again, as you know, most of these election predictions are going to depend on the Rust Belt's performance. We already talked about Pennsylvania. Now, Michigan's the state I really want to talk about. As you know, it was a lean state in our last prediction, but with the polls I'm about to show you, it's going to make me look like an idiot. So I don't have any words at this point. The two Morning Consult Bloomberg polls show with third-party candidates, Harris up by 12, and with just Trump and Harris, Harris up by 11. This is getting really crazy. Like, I don't even know how Bloomberg and Morning Consult came up with a figure of plus 10. Like, that's borderline likely to safe state territory. So I don't think it's in either of the categories. So at this point, I will probably give it a tilt Democrat rating. So it is going to flip compared to last prediction. Wisconsin, we're going to quickly check what their recent polls are saying. We do see in the most recent polls with Bloomberg, third-party candidates are really hurting the Democrats here, showing Trump up by 1. But without third-party candidates, almost all the third-party candidates are flocking towards the Democrats in the other Morning Consult Bloomberg poll. So I probably will also give Wisconsin I'm probably going to also give Wisconsin a tilt rating, because unlike other states where this is brand new, like in Michigan or in Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada, this has kind of been a common trend. It's been flipping between Harris and Trump ever since Biden dropped his bid on July 21st. So we don't really know for sure what this is going to turn out to be. And finally, the last state we have to cover is the state of Minnesota. And unlike how Biden was Trump was within 1 point of winning Minnesota just before Biden dropped out, we do see Harris up by 10 in the most recent polls. Third-party candidates included. Most recent poll is Harris up by 3. Most likely VP choice by Harris, Shapiro is up by 4 against Trump. And then Harris is up by 6 with third-party candidates. It's just looking like this is going to be a likely Democratic state. So with this is the first prediction we have only the second, but this is the first prediction where we don't see, I forgot to include, the 2nd district of Nebraska is most likely going to be also Democratic based on just the current trends over the past few cycles. We don't actually have any new polls here, but just from the performance of Joe Biden in the district kind of shows that it's most likely going to be Democratic. But I digress. It's going to come down to Pennsylvania in this prediction here, because neither party has the votes to secure the election. If the Democrats win Pennsylvania, they'll actually have the perfect 270 and make this basically the closest they can get without being a tie. If the Republicans win, well, then the Republicans win the election. So Pennsylvania is now the tipping point state, unlike when it was Michigan and Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania is just down to Pennsylvania. Guys, hope you enjoyed this video. I know this is getting pretty crazy. All these states are flipping. Bloomberg and the Morning Consult has just thrown in an entire new, threw their hat into the ring, mixed this whole, I just realized you guys didn't see the map. So we will uncover that so you can see the last bit. So that's the current prediction. Guys, hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any suggestions, make sure to leave them in the comments down below, and I will see you in the next prediction.